Oh my god, the game's dead. Pack up and sell all your things. They're trash. The game is over. Hello and welcome back to the worst Warmachine channel on the internet. I'm Malorian, and it's time for a very special Malorian Weekly, because we have a massive update to cover today. Now, just so you know where I am with this update, it basically came out when I was going out to get groceries, I shared it all around, and then that's really it. And so what I've done now is I've read over like the little blurb in before explaining what it's all about, but as far as the details, we're going to experience this together. So before I go any further, let's cover the panic list. So first of all, is the game dead? No, the game's not dead. You're going to see here, it's some changes. It's a lot of changes, but this should be all for the better. Are people going to leave the game? Literally, if what Faye's update was, look, this is the picture of my pets, people would leave the game for one reason or another. So don't worry, there's going to be people out there being like, I'm angry, I'm leaving. Well, sure, good riddance, see ya. If you were on your way out anyway, this is something that's here to help all the people who love this game and is going to be staying with this game. Now, is it going to be invalidating some of your models? There are going to be some nerfs. I actually thought at first I might change up my little background here to put in all the nerf guns and stuff like that. But I go to a certain level of dramatic. Do I really want to go over the top? Now that I think of it, I almost want to go and get them and do it. But no, I mean, so some of your models are going to be nerfed, and that's for the better, right? This is going to be a balancing of the game. So let's go past the panic part. Hopefully now that's all gone. We've taken our deep breaths and we're ready for what this is really all about, which is really an overall rebalancing. So the way they're going to be doing this is they're actually touching, it says in here, and by the way, I'm going to have a link down in the notes below as well, so you can be going there if you don't want to be listening to my coverage of it, but they're going to be touching on like half the models. That's huge. So that's between all the nerfs and the buffs, and right now we have all the nerfs, which are not really in effect now, although to be honest, once you release these things to nerds, it's effective right now. So I guess it says in here, it'll be in late October. They say October 25th. You know, there's always delays and stuff. That's when it's going to be officially coming out, but we get to see the nerfs now. And then secondly, it's going to be all the buffs. But between all of these things, they're going to be covering half of the model ranges out there. Now, they also say that some are going to be touched really lightly. So things like Infernals and Crucible Guard, very light touch. Whereas things like Cygnar, they say, massive touch, massive touch. Now, they also say that the reasoning why they kind of do all this stuff right now is because this is the right time to do it. Right now, we are kind of still in that pandemic mode. Events haven't really taken off too much globally. There's not a lot of big releases right now. And so like one of the biggest worries from Privateer Press is that they're going to be doing a big update and then screw something up like a WTC and stuff like they did in years past. And so they're being very conscientious of that and be like, okay, now that the zeros are out, there's nothing new coming out to the end of the year. We can focus on this. There's probably no events for a while. And then we're all going to go in 2022. So that's really the gist of what's going on. Now, let's get into the details. So we're going to be going to the nerfs today, and then later on, we'll figure out what the buffs are. So let's figure out what these are. I got some strong drinks around me if I need them, and jumping in. So the first thing here is going to be for Retribution, and it's talking about here where the Trident buildup is going to go from D3 to 1. So yeah, it says here that that's a simple thing. That's just a change, and this makes me feel bad because it makes me know that it's going to happen to my Storm Towers as well, probably. But it probably makes sense. Battle engines have been getting a little bit too powerful. The idea that, you know, when you think of a Jack that kind of gets like free focus from moving around, it was a little bit too good. So I think this is okay. I'm okay with this change. Next one here, Falkier loses Cyclone, gains Vanish, Sprint, and Thresher, and Amputation becomes Critical Amputation, and as well, paying the price becomes when this weapon damages an enemy model with an initial attack. After the attack is resolved, you can place a bounty token on an enemy model unit without a bounty token within 10 inches of Falkier. Yeah, this is all a good idea here, and I mean, like, the biggest thing with this is that Valkyr was going out there and was just a machine, right? You could go out there with these amputations, like, just, like, cutting through, like, Colossals and all this stuff like crazy, so I'm also on board with that change. I like that one there, too. Also, House Elware Warden Executioner cuts their dual attack and gains Quick Work and Gunfighter. Okay, sure, why not? That's all they have for Retribution. For Convergence of Cyriss, first thing here is the Tessellator increases to 8 points. So the Tessellator, some people have not seen it on the table yet. If you're wondering what the Tessellator is, it's the new light. It has little guns, little floaty shooty bot, and some people have not seen them and will be surprised by this. Other people know that it's been spammed with Aurora 2, and it is devastating, and it probably needed to go up a point. So I get this one as well. Calollary Power Transfer must target another model in its battle group. Okay, so that's stopping thing. You're passing it over to, like, you know, a Gaspy 4 battle group. That makes sense. Crucible Guard decreases Warjack points down 3 to 26. Makes sense. He's way better now. That's a good way of balancing it. I'll take it. Next thing here, Infernals. All right, I just started Infernals, so let's see what's happening to me. First of all, yeah, Desolator and Tormentor, both of their armors are going to be reduced 1 to 18. Ugh. Probably the right thing. It hurts since I just got into the faction, but, you know, they're really not, like, super armor bots. Okay, I'll take that one. That's all right. I know that once it gets to, like, the Signar and Mercs, that's when I'm going to be really hurting here. Next one here is going to be Trollbloods. So the Barrage team decreased range down to 14, which is, sure, it's still super long bomb shooting. I didn't even know there were 16 range. That was crazy. They always just seemed really, really long. So, all right. And again, if you haven't played against Barrage teams with Gunning 2, they're good. Next thing here is Brigadier General Gunbjorn, as we were just talking about Gunning 2. Full force granted by his feat and instead becomes full force. The power of the weapon, the power of the blast damage caused by a weapon with full force is equal to the power of the weapon. So that is a change where it gets rid of some of the more defensive pieces of it. So, okay, sure, why not? That's still going to be very powerful there. Yeah. I think that's a fine change. Nothing that's going to be super overly crazy here. Next one here, Circle of Orboros. Gallows Grove is no longer living. That's weird. So a tree is not living now. I don't understand the reasoning behind that one, but there must have been something going on where that was an issue. Maybe some spell or something. If you know what the thing was, post it down below. Next one, Well of Orboros can only summon. Oh, that's why. Well of Orboros can only summon living models with its opening of the gate. So for those who don't know, one of the things that really could, like, surprise you with an Arc Node is that you could summon in your Gallows Grove and then have it teleport forward and be like, haha, Arc Node that you weren't expecting. And then I'm going around with my Kruger TKing things and stuff like that. So that's why it's not living. I understand why that change is there, but it seems like a ham-fisted way of doing it, but I get it. Next thing here, Blight Archon increased to 9 points, so going up 1 point. Blight Archons are good. We haven't seen a lot of them, but I like that their eyes have been on this because this is something that, you know, is an issue. Okay, now we're going on the Mercenaries. I got the Sambuca ready, should I need it. Let's see how much this is going to change. First thing here, Asphyxius 4. So Asphyxius the Sanctified, the scary one, the one that everybody talks about, cuts Leadership Construct, Bloodthirst, and decreases armor to 16. I like that. I would also like it if the points would have gone up, but I feel this is a very good spot to start here, where that whole thing where, like, all the extra charges and stuff like that, going extra threat and you're charging living, that was just oppressive. I also kind of thought maybe just go to Battle Group, but just cutting it all together, okay. And then also making them a little bit less survivable, because a lot of times, like, Gaspy was hard to kill. Between, like, putting out clouds and like, camping some focus and starting at armor 17, you know, at armor 16, that's still solid, but it's still at the point where now, like, okay, maybe Gatsby has to be a little bit more worried. So I like this. I like this. That's a nice initial change to it, and then we can see how that changes the meta. Blockader. Oh no. Blockader decrease point costs to 32? What? Okay. But reduces rate of fire to 1 on both guns? Okay, I love this. Okay, that's awesome. Here I thought point cost was going to go up, and maybe like it's 4-inch reach or something, but you want to take the range away, and I almost never do the sprays. So to me, that's perfectly fine. Cheaper blockaders? Huzzah! Okay, this is fantastic. Boom Howler 3. So it changes amputation to crit amputation, and Hoof It also changes affecting Gristle 1 and becomes range command target friendly non-warlock, non-warcaster living model unit. If the model unit is in range, affected models that did not run or fail a charge this turn can make it full advance at the end of the turn after all friendly living models have ended their activations. During this movement, affected models cannot be targeted by free strikes. Okay, so for those who don't know what the hell's going on here, one, this is another spot where like amputation was like a little bit too much, especially when you got Thresher and you could be hitting multiple jacks, just like hitting for tons of damage. I'm cool with that. And the Hoof It thing, what you'd see there is that you could put Hoof It on a unit and they could run and then move again. So you could like jam things crazy far. It was ridiculous. So now saying that it doesn't work if they ran, I like it. That's a good change. Death Archon. Point increases up to 9 and decrease range to 2 for the Carnage Incarnate and grants Divine Inspiration instead of Annihilator. Ooh, okay. And Vendetta changes and would also affect Lanissa to additional die rather than boost. Okay. So first of all, obviously the Death Archon was really good. Need to go up in points. The ranges of the Carnage Incarnate and stuff like that, like that's okay. The range of its weapon is what goes down. That's what's understanding here. So it was 3-inch range before, and now it's going to range 2. Okay, so I like that as well. 3 was kind of crazy, really made you ask the question, like, why when it had, like, these other things? So I like that. Point cross going up, range down to 2, the change of, like, the Annihilator and stuff there, and the Vendetta, so you can be boosting on top of that and getting 4 dice. Okay, I like all those changes. All those things make sense. Love it. Harlow Hold'em High reduces rate of fire to 1 and decrease the point cost to 3. Whoa! Okay, this is a big change. So, first of all, Harlow was the gun Archon, right? For some reason, this guy walks out like, getting 4 shots all the time. Now, it's going to be just 2 shots, but you're also only paying 3 points for this thing. Like, a lot of people would take this here for free as one of their rec options, but now for 3 points, you probably just throw this thing in. I feel that it's undercosted because there's a lot of things that still shoot once that are 4 points, but then again, we still have to see all these other changes, right? There'll be all these other things getting better. So it's hard to see for balance, but Harlow was pushed, and this is an interesting nerf and buff at the same time. They'll be interesting to see where this one goes. Oh boy, Melvin of Mayhem. I made my extreme one. Please don't be so crazy. Melvin of Mayhem, disengage safety, grants Berserk instead of Killing Spree. Okay, that's fine. So Killing Spree was, what was happening is you could like hit and overtake, and so like a good buffed like Melvin and Mayhem could just destroy an entire army of infantry. Now with Berserk, it's like, okay, I'm just hitting all the things around me, and if there's something friendly around me, I'm gonna be hitting my own stuff. So I have to kind of like watch out for that placement. Okay, I'll take that. That's a good one. When you're pushing the red button, something crazy should happen. Menite Archon decreases armor to 18. I didn't actually realize it was 19. That's a beefy Archon, or was. And point costs up to 9. I like it. Gentle nudge in the way it was supposed to be going to. Morrowind Archon, defense down to 13. Ooh, that's its whole shtick, is the defense thing. It increases point costs to 9. You know what? I think I'm okay with that as well, because really, if you didn't want to be egregious with your Morrowind Archon and just like push it into their face, it usually was kind of like sitting behind the lines anyway, not completely all the way to the front. So that's probably okay. they're trying to play with this one. I feel that maybe like the 9 points here have been more better for this, but I might be biased because I'm the Cygnar player. All right, next one here, Scythe. If Harlow goes down, Scythe was the other issue. Loses multi-fire and becomes rate of fire 3 and reduces the rat down to 7 when it used to be 8. Again, I like this. I have a real problem where it just seems like things are getting so many attacks and so many things were just like dying to crazy to some of these things. Like you take a Harlow and a Scythe and they're taking off like a unit per turn. Felt wrong. This I like, still a solid model, getting the 3 shots in, probably is going to be still hitting with Rat 7. This, I mean, usually take it as a free option anyway, so the point cost doesn't really matter, and they're not going to do a crazy thing making it go down 3 points, so I like that one. That one's also good. Thamrite Archon. Now, I didn't see what it said yet, but so far to me, the Thamrite was disappointing, so I hope they made it better. Thamrite Archon, rate of fire, just set to 3 rather than D3, and then goes up to 9 points. I like that. That random shot thing was ridiculous, and yeah, all these things should have been more points. I like that. So this one actually got kind of more of a buff, right? Of course went up in points, but now it's actually going to get 3 shots all the time, and it's not going to be like that one turn where you really need it, you roll 1 shot, and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? Void Archon increases to 9 points, so all the Archons, it seems, are going up. Loses dual attack and gains assault. Ooh, that's an interesting change. I think I like that one. Yeah, because it had a lot of options before of like charging in and doing this stuff. The assault makes it so it actually threatens further with some of these things. But yeah, I think that's an okay change there. All right, minions. So I got out of Mercs. That means Magnus too didn't get the nerf back. Whew, my favorite boy. It all worked out. Minions. Azrazello loses distraction. Okay, that's not the biggest deal for Azrazello. Like, Azrazello, that's the Zorro pig. That is a minor thing to me. So, okay, sure. Dunian Archon becomes special issue, so now it's no longer a rec option. That's a great change. I was really down on the Dunian Archon before, but now that I've actually played against it several times and seeing how oppressive it can be, please don't make this thing free. So I like that a lot. Kogan Smite becomes a star attack. That makes sense. Getting into multi-faction now. Blast immunity effects. The following abilities grant blast resistance instead of immunity to blast damage. Blast resistance is a model of blast resistance gains +4 armor against blast. Okay, so Ascension Command. Defensive action. Solid ground. Force field, imprint kinetic field, force barrier, iron flesh, force mastery. Not affected are things like dig in, foxhole buddy for the little doggy, sky dropped, high flyer, go to ground, turret. How do I feel about this? I think if the change was what it said at the beginning, where you just got like, this is not your immune, you get extra armor. I like that because immunity is sometimes sets you up for some feel bads. The idea that they know is going to be having 2 sets of rules, I kind of wish they kind of would have kept everything together. But then again, some of these like spell things are different than just like being in a trench. So we'll have to play around with this one. But I like that they're playing around with the idea of these things that we've taken for granted for a long time. All right, Bloodbound. Bloodbound only affects made during activation. This affects the following models: Legion of Lost Souls, Lantern Man, and okay, so the Bloodbound is where you like kill something and bring something back. So my Legion of Lost Souls during like their vengeance attacks to be like, I kill you with a dude, it brings a dude. It also had vengeance, so it'll kill a dude and make a dude. So now making that this only works during your activation, yeah, easy one. Well, I love it. Iron Aggression. The spell Iron Aggression now must target a model in the caster's battle group. This affects the following models: Axis 1, Magnus 1, and Striker 3. Yeah, that's not that big of a deal. I wonder where that was being abused. It's probably being abused with like Malvin and Mayhem. That's probably where something like that was being put up on one of those other jacks. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that one. Range reduction effects. Windstorm, Flying High, Sandstorm, Long Shadows, Phantasm, and Rough Seas add to a minimum of 8 inches After range, the flying high rule below is an example of the change. So the example thing doesn't really matter. What this really did is like there were some weird interactions where if you're trying to shoot something with like a gunfighter model, it's like, aha, my range is whatever. Well, if it's -3, I don't have a range anymore. So it's like this weird thing that almost never came up. So now to a minimum of 8, I like that. I like that change there. And it lists out all the different things it's going to be affecting with that. Soul Ward. Soul Ward becomes a static 5 inches instead of command, and affects the following models: the Blight Archon, Lys Healer, the Morrowind Archon, Menite Archon, Void Archon, Dunian Archon, and High Reclaimer. So, okay, that's really interesting. So that's going to make it easier for the other things that needed to be dealing with soul. So I guess as like an Infernal player, I like this change, but it does make the counterplay hard. I like going some of these things out 10 inches are kind of crazy. Make them always 5, maybe better, because you can always know exactly what it is and not get surprised by what the command might be if there's some modifier or something. So, okay, I'll take it. Ooh, Themeless changes. All right, Flames in the Darkness. 3 Battle Priests are no longer a rec option. Okay, that's probably a good thing. That was a 6 points, and it was like pretty much everyone did that, just like throwing in these battle priests all over the place. Strange Bedfellows. Angel unit, no longer a rec option. Will that be enough? You know, Strange Bedfellows, I've been poo-pooing on the whole time, but now between the Gas Before change and this, is that going to be enough for it to fall out of favor? I think so. I wonder what you start taking instead. Just like the free jacks, other stuff. I'm very interested to see where the Strange Bedfellow lists go now. Vengeance of Dunia. Pig Tank Solo, rec option changed to non-character Pig Tank Solo. So now you can't be taking, what's this, the something in Treads. I can't remember their name, but there's a character one. Okay, you know, I'm sure that's not going to be the biggest of deal, but it makes sense. Next one here, Faithful Masses. Ooh, Initiates of the Wall, no longer a rec option. Okay, yeah. Remember, we have to remember as we're going through all these nerfs, that there's all these other buffs coming in too. So please, as we're going through, you're going to be like, oh, well, no, Manoth has nothing left. No, all the buffs are coming. You got to wait for that. So, and this is a great one because, like, just like kind of like with the 3 little battle priests, always, every single Manoth list you see, just like, oh, there's 9 Initiates of the Wall. And it was getting pretty boring, pretty monotonous. It's probably a good idea they took this out. Soldiers of Fortune. People play that? Alexia 2 and Stannis are no longer rec options. So this was funny. Back in the day when there wasn't many different themes, people were like, oh my god, because your 3 rec options in Soldier of Fortune could be Alexia 2, 7 points, Stannis, 7 points, and Iris 1, 7 points. And they're like, oh my god, 21 free points, but it's still like a garbage theme, which is why you don't really see it. Okay, so that's very interesting that they took those out, but did not take Iris 1. You know, out of all those options, Iris 1 is the best model. I mean, Stannis I would take for scenario stuff, because you also get, like, Bulldozer, and you get, like, bump things out of zones, but interesting change. Maybe something else is changing with Iris 1. We'll have to see. Disciples of Agony. Basilisk Kriya, no longer a rec option. Sure. Primal Terrors. Ah, here's a good one. Hellmouth, no longer a rec option. Again, all those types of things where stuff that probably shouldn't be there. So, okay, that's it. So as far as the nerfs go, that is what's there. And remember, they said that they're changing like 50% of the models. So there's a lot of models. And even though we want over a fair number of things that covered a lot of stuff, there is clearly, has to be, the vast majority of these changes will be the buffs that are coming after for all these other things. So these are my thoughts after reading all these. First of all, oh geez, now I can't do this. Hats off to Faye, because this was a fantastic update. These are things that are like a culmination of that over the years. These have just been like little nagging things like, oh, these things aren't really feeling right. And it really feels good that they've been not ignoring us, but really like keeping it on the whiteboard and kind of like waiting for the right time to be like, okay, boom, we're going to be doing all these changes now. I do kind of wish they would have done these like more part and parcel, but this is fantastic. And I also got to say, for my grade, my last video that I did, I said these are the top 5 things, and if they don't do that with this here, you failed. And this here is basically reviewing really everything in the entire game, which was my option number 4. So not the best thing, but it's on the list and it's not like the worst thing. So this is great. I am very happy that they invested the time to go through here and make all of these changes. I'm super now wondering all the things are going to be going up in power, right? Different things that they'll be changing. You also said, I didn't mention at the beginning, some changes that aren't really buffs or nerfs, but they're more just for the ease of the player. So stuff where like before, like the Marner, you had to be base to base so it could actually shoot, and they changed it to 1 inch. Maybe they'll be changing it to like, nah, you don't need to be within an inch at all, right? Because that's a ridiculous rule. I'm interested to see what those type of rule changes are. So this is fantastic. And, you know, I'm sure if you're somebody out there that plays some of these things, maybe you are a mercenary player, you're like, come on, Harlow and Scythe, I need it. I use them all the time, and now this will be a big deal. I think this is great. These things here, there's nothing I saw here that was extreme. Oh, one thing I was wrong about is that I thought that seeing for the Tridents, it going from D3 to 1, the same thing would be for the Stormstrider. That's not there. So it also makes me wonder too what other changes they have planned over there if they're not making those the same. But this is great. Just the level of changes they went after. There's so many different things. Like if I had to make a list of all the different things that are a problem in the game, they hit a lot of them. So this is fantastic. And I think normally you'd come to the end of a nerf and be like, oh my god, yeah, my stuff got nerfed, but your stuff didn't. This is nerfing a whole bunch of things, so it feels fair because everybody's problem child's like, no, you know you were being bad. I was being bad with this thing. We're both putting this nasty thing away, and we're going to be playing nicer. So first of all, that feels good that kind of like everybody kind of got nerfs, and then at the same time, you're also hopeful because like, you said 50% of the models, and you touched on like 10? So there's going to be a whole bunch more updates and buffs coming in here. So I'm really looking forward to that. I also want to know what your thoughts are, right? What are your thoughts on what these changes were here below? Again, the link is down here. I'm sure that the internet's going to be full of thoughts of this for the next, month or whatever, but I'm really encouraged by this. This was fantastic. Privateer Press, Faye, this is exactly the type of thing we needed. I was kind of hoping for some sort of change just to kind of keep the game nice and fresh, but this shows some real insight and knowledge in the game that they saw where the problem points were and are doing something to change them. But it's not like the past where it's like, super nerf you to the ground. And it's like, okay, gas before. Let's just dial that back. We're not just gonna like swing that dial all the way, just like a little bit and see if that's in the right spot there. So I'm also really encouraged by that. There's nothing on here that was like, doy, that thing's useless now, right? It's like, yeah, that made sense. All of these things going there. So there you go. There's the video. Again, I gotta do my thanks to all my patrons out there. Obviously, when I put up the vote, this is the thing that they want me to talk about this week. But yeah, this is a big one. I'm super hyped. I hope you're hyped too. We'll catch you later. Bye.